Sorry, I thought I'd start this comedy slab with a gag. Please. Now I've removed the gag. It is time for me to say I'm Adrian Lacey. I'm in the... that went a bit... I'm in the Deep South. Sorry. That might or might not be appropriate for this particular show we're analysing, but it all... Oh dear, it's going horribly wrong already. Anyway, I am one half of the duo that is the Comedy Slab, I suppose. Are we the Comedy Slab collectively?
So I must be the other half of the duo that is the Comedy Slab. I'm Shane O'Connor, and I'm in the wet and windy Midlands tonight. It's really...
Right.
Can I do me dad's joke?
Oh, feel free. You've ruined it already by telling us it's your dad's joke.
He always comes in when it's windy outside. He shuts the door. He goes, "God, it's so windy out there. I've just watched a chicken lay the same egg 4 times." But and I never tire of it.
I don't really understand it. Am I looking too deeply?
No. It's like the chicken's trying to lay, and it's so windy. It goes back in. There's nothing more sophisticated than that. It is my dad, after all. What's the matter with you?
Well, no, come on. That's borderline. Well, no, we'll leave that there. Anyway, on the slab this week, what do? We take a different comedy each week. We take it in turns to choose. Last week, I set the homework for Shane and myself, and it may have been your good self as well if you were listening. In which case, I hope you've done your homework, but no matter if you haven't, because we hear 3 different clips from said show, so it will get you up to speed in case you're not familiar with it. The show this week is a BBC Radio 4 show. It is a Black Cat production, and it is called Josh Howie's Losing It. It is a sitcom with a laughter track, and Josh Howie is a stand-up comic, and he gets himself into all kinds of trouble. And it sounds like I'm horribly underselling, which is actually what I think is a really good, fun show. But, just reducing it to the very simple things, the more he tries to undo the troubles he's created, the more he creates yet another one. So, Shane, I guess I should go to you without further ado.
Can I just whiz you back before you do?
Please do. Whiz me back anytime.
Because you know these things, and I love to winkle. I like to winkle every week.
Pick a winkle.
I like to winkle something out of you every week. And unbeknownst to you, you don't know what's going to get winkled from week to week, do you?
I have no idea.
You're winkleless in Seattle a lot of the time. But anyway, I like to winkle something. And this week you said this is a show with a laughter track. Is that an industry term for if you can hear the laughter on it, or do you actually physically? Because it was done in front of a live audience, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yes, some people. Yes, I don't mean to confuse. I understand it to be too late for that. I understand it to be any show where you can hear laughter, as simply as that. And it being the BBC, it will have been seen. I mean, you can tell it's a very lively audience. They're very, very up for it. They're enjoying it, and I have to say it increased my enjoyment, notwithstanding what you say about you being... Last week, I think, the words to the effect you could hear through a laughter track didn't put you off. You gave the example of American TV shows.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't do one thing for me one way or the other because... like you say, I can kind of block it out, unless there's one. I don't know if you ever remember, but there's one of the Hancock's Half Hour in the radio series, where there's a woman in the front. Do you know the one?
No, I don't. It was a general phenomenon when I worked in TV sound that we would ask the sound supervisor, the mixer of the show, to fade out the mic over any cacklers.
Right. Well, there's, and I can't remember which one it is, and if you put it in the internet, you'll probably find out which one it is. But this is woman, like, cackling isn't in it. She's like, she's uncontrollable. She's semi-hysterical.
Is it like Yvette Fielding when you use the word gusset?
Worse than that. Worse than that. I love that. I must get that on a.
You should.
We could play
particularly
that
for people who don't know the background. Yeah. You'd interviewed her, and for some reason, you managed to winkle in the word gusset.
Yeah, we were talking about the word gusset in the interview, and then I said something like "mind you gusset" at the end, and she just lost it. She just went completely. She was. she was done for. But yeah, there's this woman in Hancock, and she's like laughing uncontrollably. And then and then even Hancock like kind of says, "Do you mind?" or something like that, which is really unusual for him.
Breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, he never breaks the fourth wall, Hancock, or I've never known him to do that. And he says, "Do you mind?" or something like that. And then after that, you don't hear her. And I got this image that she was...
Was she embarrassed?
She was... Or no, she was escorted out. I think they removed her after that.
She wouldn't have found that very funny.
I must look that up. But yeah, cracking situation. So I don't know. You see, when you said laughter track, I would have thought that was what I would call canned laughter and a recording.
No, it's definitely not that. No.
No.
Yeah. I'll have to go away and look up the term. I mean, I didn't used to use that term anyway, but I thought I would. And as soon as I use a term I don't normally use, I've got into trouble. So I can only apologise. But there are one or two, I would call them spot laughs, but they're very nice ones. But you can pick out individuals, but they're having such a jolly good time.
Yeah.
For want of a better phrase, that you think, I don't begrudge them that.
Do you think it was a free bar?
Well, he mentions a free bar in the show, doesn't he, funny enough?
Do they do that? Do they still do that at the BBC? Do they have a free bar and get the audience a bit revved up?
Let's not over-exaggerate. Well, actually, no, these days... See, years ago, I remember being given a paper BBC cup with some regulation BBC... I can only call it... loosely speaking, some alcoholic red water. Wine is too grand a term for BBC.
Alcoholic red water. No, I don't know why that never caught on as a beverage.
Funny that. But then the BBC realised this is post-Thatcherism, in my view. You know, this is my analysis of how British society's gone. The BBC worked out, actually, we can actually have a paid-for bar, and people are daft enough to actually want to pay money. They're not daft, but they will pay for their own drink, and it will be proper, decent drink as opposed to the cheap stuff.
I love it.
That we had to put in a BBC cupboard somewhere.
You can imagine saying, would you like an alcoholic red water or antifreeze? Antifreeze is blue. The other one's red. Which one would you like?
Not much in it. Actually, there was a scandal, wasn't there, of ethylene glycol, which is...
Went to school with her.
Shira won.
She sat next to... who was the other one you mentioned earlier before we started?
I've forgotten. This is all off-stage stuff.
Just in time. I can't remember who it was.
Oh, no. Sorry, folks. This is kind of... It's so in, even we're not in enough to get it ourselves. Anyway, we digress as ever we do. Am I allowed to get your headline of what you make of Josh Howie's losing it before we lose it completely?
Headline is...
Don't overthink.
What were they laughing at?
Oh no. Yeah. I really thought this was going to be the one we'd agree on. No, lummy. Shall we end the show right here?
There's no way you thought that it was going to be the one that we agree on. You picked this one.
You're winding me up.
You thought, if I pick this one, this will give us a nice dynamic where he goes, what? I don't know. Yeah, I didn't laugh the whole way through.
No.
I'm not going to dress it up or reveal it later on. But yeah, I listened to it twice, and it was. I found myself really kind of looking at the clock the second time.
Oh no.
And I had to go to attend to my son halfway through, so I thought, I'll just make a quick note in my notes of what time I've seen, and I thought 11:26. Is that all I've listened to? But
oh dear.
Yeah, not
a titter.
Not a titter. I didn't find the premise funny. I didn't find any of the jokes funny. I didn't relate to the characters. I just no, didn't work. I tell you what it reminded me of. Have you ever heard David Schneider? You know David Schneider, who was in The Day Today and various other bits. Part
of the Steve Coogan, Armando Iannucci.
Yeah, he was the guy who played Tony Hayes, wasn't he? That was David Schneider, wasn't it? That wouldn't give him a second series.
Yes, in the Foxtrot restaurant. Yes.
Yeah, he wrote something called Birth, Deaths and Marriages, set in a registry office. Did you see that? Hear that?
I heard it. Yes.
And
we might agree on that.
You what? Sorry.
That we might agree on that one. If that didn't do it for me, it's a noble attempt.
I couldn't quite believe what I was listening to, and I thought, this is David Schneider, and then at the end it said that he'd written it. I thought, I really can't believe that. It's incredible. It was just what I can only describe as awful.
I think he was. That was quite a brave thing to want to set an entire sitcom, build it around a register office. But part of me, actually, I say that we do try not to be unkind for the sake of it. I do actually applaud him having a go, because I think you've just got to. I don't know. It's quite brave, or you might think foolhardy, but.
I just wonder how things like that get. I have a real concern over. Radio 4 used to be a real bastion of solid commissioning, I think, for comedy, and of late, I think it's gone right down the Carsey. I
was at school with him. He was a right real bastion.
Right, I thought you were right down the Carsey. These foreign exchange students.
Anyway, okay, I've got the very long headline from you.
That was just a short head of what they were laughing at.
Yeah, okay. The rest was sort of fill in. Right, so look, well, let's hear clip number one. Okay. I will have to do a bit of a scene set. So Josh Howie is a stand-up. I'm so sorry it didn't do it for you. This show, well, we've got to pep this up now, and I feel I have to try twice as hard to persuade the listener that it is actually worth giving time to, quality time.
Can I just qualify that, though, by saying that, as I always say, you can't like everything, first of all. And secondly, I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm saying that it didn't work for me. And
didn't float your boat.
Yeah, and you know, and like you say, we're trying to be fair about this. And I'm not going, oh, he's an idiot, he should never do anything again or whatever. I'm just saying that for me, this I didn't connect to it. It didn't connect to me. But that doesn't make it bad. He's wrong.
It might make you bad in my estimation, but then you already were.
I'm very bad.
You're bad, etc.
Bad to the bad.
Before we get to copyright issues. Okay, so setting the scene. Josh Howie is, fair to say, a neurotic stand-up comic. He's also Jewish, so there's I wouldn't say it's full-on heavy-duty Jewish humour. It's very mainstream. But if you know a bit of Jewish humour, you'll hear some sort of undertones there. And yes, he does make reference to that. In fact, this particular episode is built around the alleged racism of his baby boy. Now, Shane has a baby boy. I hoped there was going to be some kind of identification there. Obviously not. And we have to hope that Frank isn't racist. But obviously it's a joke. I mean, he's a comedian, for goodness sake. He's well, just because he's Jewish doesn't mean he's not racist, but he isn't racist. It is... Well, it's just playing with ideas of the premise is he's read a report wherein babies like the music of their own people, in quotes, the people they're brought up around, and they're more hostile to music that comes from people who aren't in, as it were, their tribe. I'm not making it sound any better than you seem to think it is, but I hope you'll like some of the gags here. The setup is, so he's just got the one baby son. He's got his wife is Monique, and they're having a discussion, he and his wife. They're having it's a joint first birthday party? It must be.
He's about the same age as my son, actually, yeah.
Well, yeah. That's even more depressing in the sense that you didn't identify with it more.
Yeah.
What do I need to say? They're discussing about what they're going to get in preparation for the birthday party, and there is a mention of a trestle table. I don't want to give too much away, but I don't want to give not quite enough away. But anyway, I think we'll pick it up from here. This is an insight into how Josh Howie, our stand-up comic, thinks in terms of laying on a party for his baby boy.
If you were going to buy anything, it should be a trestle table.
Please, let's not start that again. It's a Winnie the Pooh-themed picnic birthday party. Picnic with blankets.
You just don't want to buy a trestle table.
The whole point of having a joint birthday party was to save money and celebrate keeping Morty alive for a year. Doing a big birthday party for a 1-year-old is crazy, but Monique talked me into it by pointing out that any financial outlay would be offset by the presents that people give. A trestle table, though, that'd mean there'd be no chance of breaking even, let alone turning a profit. Especially after Monique insisting we spend £15 on Elwood's present. I mean, there's no way we can do that every time. It'd bankrupt us. Mordy needs to be under strict instructions to not make any more friends. My main problem is still, how's Monique going to find out her cake's off and she isn't pregnant? Like, she blamed the messenger. Hell hath no fury, like a woman upset about something that you did, but you're not sure what, as she won't tell you, as you should know.
Now, interestingly, that would have been the point at which I would have connected the most, because my son's just coming up to 1, and we've had conversations about whether you'd have a party for a 1-year-old, indeed whether you'd even buy a 1-year-old a birthday present. And we had a conversation, strangely enough, earlier today about, I said I'd like to buy him something rather than buy him toys or whatever, because he's got quite a lot of toys, obviously, from stuff people have bought him. I said I'd like him to buy something, I don't quite know what I mean, but some kind of keepsake that you could give him when he was an adult and say, there you go, son, we bought you that when you were 1 year old.
An offshore trust, for instance.
Something like that, yeah, or an oil rig, something offshore.
Or a doorstop.
But yeah,
something
so
practical.
I mean, like the whole idea of like parties is a bit of a nightmare for parents as well. But so
God,
I kind of,
yeah.
if there was going to be a connection point, I suppose it's going to be there. But I just found I found the character and the premise quite unbelievable. Although strangely enough, his wife is actually called Monique. I found out doing a little bit of research. So. Although the woman obviously is playing his wife in this, that isn't actually his wife. But yeah,
Pippa Evans.
Mordechai. I was just felt so sorry for the child being called Mordechai. I don't know whether he's got a son or whether that's a real name, but that's a hell of a name to be saddled with for your life, isn't it? Really,
it's nicely biblical, I believe.
Yeah,
I was just going to say they shorten it to Mordy, which makes it a bit more of a manageable name.
Yeah.
But it's obviously not floating your boat. Before we go any further, do you like Woody Allen? Just thinking off the top of my head of another Jewish
Huge fan of Woody Allen, yeah.
Right. I'm not saying he's that close to him, but I'm just interested to know where the lines are.
He looks a bit like him.
Does he? I've seen the picture, but I can't. I think he looks like Arthur Miller in the photo. You can hear this on BBC Sounds, as we must now call what used to previously be iPlayer.
I'm allowed to call it anything I want.
You can call it what you want. You can call the BBC what you want, but you don't.
I watch it on the BBC Bucket of Wellies. That's what I call it.
Steering you away from that, I wasn't meaning that he's in no way a Woody Allen clone, but. No. He's Jewish, he's neurotic. There's just a hint there of being in a similar ballpark, I would have thought. But
I didn't think there was much Jewish. There was a lot of identity, what I would call identity comedy, which doesn't really... To me, it's about as funny as listening to Lenny Henry, say, I'm black in every joke. You kind of think, Lenny, we know that. Can you do one about, being from the black country? Or can you do one about being from Birmingham? Or
was that a joke about black country? Or?
No, because we don't think of it like that. It's different connotations. But do you know what I mean? Or like Jo Brand used to do when she used to do stand up. She used to go, I'm fat, and you kind of think, yeah, I know, but that surely there is more that identifies you than that. And that to me, that's where it kind of. I was like, oh God, is the whole program going to be on this one theme, this one topic of this kind of sort of semi-ludicrous premise that his 11 and a bit month old baby is a racist. And I wonder whether, are there really people out there who worry and count how many black friends they've got? I mean, I could see this playing out well in, Hackney or Notting
I thought you
Hill,
might think it was a bit London-esque.
Or Camden Town or something. Do you know what I mean? I can imagine that work. But other than that, I can't see the real world buying it. Adrian, really?
The real world. I know you rule out London from being in such a noble category as being real. This is where I have to sort of burnish my London credentials. But I know what you mean. That is, in all seriousness, that is the danger of a lot of comedies for the BBC being made in the heart of London. I've even heard a joke, and it doesn't do anything for me either. It makes me cringe a bit. I heard a joke once, nothing to do with this show. Can't even remember what the show was. I might not even name it if I could remember it. But it was a joke about Oxford Circus. And I thought, oh, blimey, you've virtually not left the building where this is recorded to write your material.
But, do you know, I was mulling on this earlier today, and it's nothing new, is it? Because if you think back to The Good Life, I remember watching that as a kid, and they were always going on about Surbiton.
Which is where it was notionally set. Actually shot in Northwood, as any fool know.
Yeah, in fact, you can go and visit the house that.
Oh, you can do tours or something. I think
the two houses. Yeah, you're thinking, God, if you own that house, how would you feel about that? You think, well, I'm not.
Oh, you'd be raking in the money. Well, I thought. Oh, was it only tour from the outside?
I think so. Yeah, I don't think it's anything to do with the people. Anyway, but I remember as a kid thinking, what's Surbiton? It didn't really, and that kind of works within the London bubble. But outside of that, people think, well, I've never been to Surbiton. They wouldn't know that it was at the time it was a kind of aspiring, well-to-do area, wasn't it? That I don't know. I just find that the whole thing a bit, and you're right. It happens a lot now, and it's one of the dangers of. If you're writing, recording and making these programmes in London, they're going to have that feel, aren't they, I suppose? Yeah.
In the Beeb's defence, they do record some shows in, the next biggest base outside of London is Salford. I can't think off the top of my head. I mean, there's definitely a north-south divide in humour, isn't there? And has been for yonks. Was it, you might even have told me, was it Maxwell or some famous sort of variety type comic or old musical sort of era, they couldn't play south of a certain town or couldn't play north of a certain town. Well, that was generally true for any one comic. You couldn't really knit the nation together.
Used to say that, or somebody. It does ring a bell with somebody saying. The interesting thing is that Count Arthur Strong was recorded in Brighton.
Oh.
Funnily enough, at a place, Mark Radcliffe's place, Comedia.
Right. Which is like a comedy venue.
Yeah, which is like a theatre venue style place, and they recorded the Count Arthur Strong stuff there in Comedia in Brighton. So so they can do it when they put their mind to it or they think about it. But I think that was an independent production, and that's why his company did it at his venue, I suppose.
I think it's high time for another clip, and I think this one might make your exact point about how you feel it's a bit London-centric.
Right.
I can't find a better term. I don't like that term, but we know what we mean by it. If you say metro-centric, that could be any other metropolitan area, which would be terribly London-centric to think that it's the only metropolitan area in the country. Sorry.
But you've got to be careful of doing this. Anywhere it's like the comedy Bread that was set in Liverpool. If you put too many, there were never jokes too much about Liverpool other than the very broadest sense of the place, because you can't go, oh, if you go to so and so area it's like this or whatever, because people wouldn't know, would they?
They wouldn't get it. Toxteth and all of that.
Exactly. So it's more. It's not London centric. It's almost like a hyper localization, isn't it? Where they're kind of they're doing gags off the back, or they're doing references off the back of places that they know, and they assume that everybody else knows. And it doesn't matter whether it's in Birmingham, Liverpool, Glasgow, Manchester or London. It still comes up against that same barrier in a way. Anyway, sorry, you were saying this.
No, it's fine. Well, the situation now is that Josh wants to compensate for the fact he's worried his nearly 1-year-old son is racist by surrounding him by as many black people as is possible. And this has interesting consequences when it comes to the people he's organised to come to the birthday party.
I am getting the nice olives.
You've got to come back now.
What's wrong? Are the guests there? Do none of them want coffee?
No.
Is Morty okay?
He's fine.
Did something happen to the cake?
No.
Oh.
Look, I can't really talk. Just come now, please.
Did the envelope get separated from the present? Monique, what's the problem?
Joshua, can you please explain to me why all of our guests are black?
I don't know. They must have arrived first. Oh, hi, mate. One sec. What time did you tell everyone else?
What? Everyone I've invited is here, all my work friends. You said you were going to take care of everyone else.
No, I didn't. I said I'd invite the people that we've been talking about.
But I texted you that list.
Yes, the people I thought you'd already invited to check that we hadn't missed anybody.
When on earth was I supposed to have time to invite people? I've been focusing on the cake.
Which was really worth it. Such a great cake.
Now, I got confused at this bit here because they were saying, she said, why are all of our guests black? But then she also said that she'd invited all the people from work. So were all the people that she worked with black as well?
No. There are a couple of pinch points, I think, where it is not necessarily clear. I think when she says our guest, she means our collective guest that she gave him the task to invite. Her, it is a little bit clunky, I think, but I'm not sure if there's an easy way around it, given the situation the writer wanted to create. I
didn't know that it was just me being a duffer, or whether I missed something, or what there, or whether I was having a Columbo aha moment. I wasn't quite sure what I was doing there. Tell me something about it, because we quite like devices, don't we? You know, when they use a comic device or a different delivery device, I think you're the same. We kind of like the way that happens, and he does this thing where he talks to the audience, doesn't he?
Yeah, sort of monologue-y.
Yeah,
breaking out from the scene,
and in the middle of scenes, at the start of scenes, at the end of the scene. How did you get on with that? Did that work for you?
It did, actually, and surprisingly well, I think, given that it's almost continuous. One second you can be hearing him in the scene, and the next you're expected to work out, oh, he's talking to me now, standing apart. I'm going to guess, I'd bet my bottom dollar, in fact, that didn't quite work for you.
No. And I think it was because I found myself, like, he'd be talking to the audience, and I'd go, I was talking to the audience, because I think he didn't signpost it particularly vividly, did he? He didn't go, so you see, ladies and gentlemen.
He did that on one occasion. I thought, that's a very obvious way of doing it, the ladies and gentlemen. But he didn't always do it. Maybe
that's what it is. Perhaps it's too obvious. But I felt if you're in the room, you were at an advantage, because you would have been more up to speed if you could see it.
Yeah. And it would have been, cut in chunks, probably.
Yeah.
Or there might have been a pause. There might not have been. But there's a slight quality difference, but then that's getting a bit subtle in terms of the acoustic, and because it would have just been his mic up together with the audience mics. But, that's possibly a bit subtle on its own to be sufficient to let you know that he's kind of broken through the fourth wall in a way. But I found it created a kind of intimacy where he sort of is justifying himself, and you can see his rather I was going to say pathetic. That doesn't sound quite right, but his rather lame justifications for the things he's doing. I think you probably have to decouple a few grey cells and not try and split the atom too much.
Yeah.
Mixing my metaphors a little bit, and just go with it. But I just find him very lovable, the persona. I've never met the guy, I have no idea what he's really like, but as he presents himself in this show, and I want to believe he's something like this, just as I believe Woody Allen is something like the bumbling, neurotic character of his earlier funny films, to use a phrase from one of his slightly less funny films. For me it works, but I don't know how. I can't persuade you, can I? I mean, it's just each to their own kind of thing.
I didn't. It's not I didn't like the character. I didn't relate to the character. I didn't feel that the character was real. The delivery, I think, doesn't help it. In as much as if you imagine the way that The Office is delivered. It's very real, isn't it? It's they kind of talk like real people. This to me was at that other end of that whole spectrum, where it was like ultra scripted and kind of a bit overplayed. I was surprised they didn't use Kerry Godliman more. When I saw Kerry Godliman was in it, who was in the week before last's Comedy Slab, wasn't she? I think. No, that was Dad's Army. It was the week before last. Bad move, right. Kerry Godliman. And I thought when Kerry Godliman was, she's going to play his wife, but she played a childminder, I think, didn't she, or something of that nature?
Gosh, I'm looking at the cast list. So I can't see it there unless it's an oversight.
Oh right,
I tell you,
maybe I imagined it then. I thought I heard a voice.
Right. It must be a sound-alike, an impersonator.
You're right, actually. No, I'm looking at it now, and I don't know where I got the fact that she was in it. I'm looking at the cast list as well, and I don't see her in there. Right. Maybe it is a sound-alike.
Were you listening to the wrong show? We have to investigate that possibility.
I was listening to Dad's Army again.
I don't remember Kerry Godliman being in that either, but still, not old enough. Right. Well, let us move on to our third and final clip. And what I failed to set up much earlier, but I think we've got away with it in view of the previous two clips, but you do now need to know that Monique has baked a cake especially for her son's birthday party, and she is quite strung up about that, highly strung about it, because she's trying to impress the people and feels a lot of societal pressure, if you like, sort of group pressure that it's got to be perfect. In fact, not only is it not perfect, but is actually off. And she has had a little pukey moment earlier in the show, but she ascribes that to being pregnant.
Yeah.
So I can feel how convoluted it is, even as I say it. But that's half of the fun. That's I think where you have to switch off and let them have a few kicks and flicks, which are sort of bending, warping reality a bit, so it all sort of fits into place. But I think there's some great callbacks. So this is why we now have Josh, the hubby, advising his guests in the following manner, but not within his wife Monique's hearing.
Okay, hi everyone. Howie amigos, we're going to do Morty's cake in a sec. If you could all come in a bit, unless... does anyone want to go for another coffee?
I'm coffeeed out, Josh.
Okay, Dana. Can you all just come in just a bit closer? Look, everyone, I don't have time to explain, but trust me, please don't eat our cake. Seriously, no one eat the white cake.
Are you seriously telling a bunch of black people that they're not allowed to eat your precious white cake? Josh, that is one of the most racist things I have ever heard.
No, you've got it wrong. I'm not the racist. He is.
Who?
Him.
Your baby?
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mordechai. Happy birthday to you. Who wants some cake?
I'm beyond caring after this point now, really.
Oh. Yeah, actually, to be honest, you were beyond caring before we played the first clip.
I'm beyond caring. I thought, I wrote in my notes, I thought that was like a little bit childish, wasn't it? That the cake's white and, you're stopping black people having a white cake. I laughed
out loud at that. Obviously, I'm childish. But that, again, is having to switch off parts of your mature analytical brain to enjoy it, which clearly you didn't do.
No, is it the whole idea of people worrying about whether they've got black friends or how many black friends they've got and all that? Is that a real thing then? Is that something that people do in London, or is it?
Hey, look, I'm not here as a spokesperson for all of London.
Oh, yes, you are.
Oh, okay. In which case, yes, neurotic white liberals like me.
Apart from tooting.
Yes, tooting Popular Front.
Yeah.
For people who don't get that reference, that's where I used to live in London for some of my time there. There is a white liberal thing. I think it's trying to bust the bubble of that ultra neurotic tiptoeing around the topic. That's why I just love the premise right at the top of the show. Oh, that's it. There's a device in every edition of Josh Howie's Losing It on Radio 4 with the opposite of what Dad's Army had, which is a flash forward in Josh Howie's show.
Yeah.
And I think that works really well because to me, now I've got the measure of it, having heard a number of them, my brain's always trying to work out, how do we get to that point? And you're all anticipating it throughout the show as you listen. You think, are we there yet? I can just about see the tectonic plate sort of shift. But again, it's all falling on deaf ears with your good self.
Maybe. I mean, perhaps you might have hit the nail on the head there. Maybe it's the fact that you've heard more than one episode. And have A, warmed to it, and B, sort of got the format, so you feel comfortable with the format of it. Perhaps that's, you know what I mean? That can make a difference, can't it? If you only listen to one, and bear in mind I've only listened to this one twice, perhaps that's one of the reasons that I'm not as warm to it as you are. Maybe the interesting thing is I tried to find some reviews on this, and I couldn't find one. Which is really weird, isn't it? I found a review of one of his stand-up shows, Josh Howie's Messed Up.
Right.
I can't remember where this is from, so forgive me, but it said there was a moment in the show when he asked a member of the audience a question, and her response was that a certain word that Howie had used in the show offended her, and he continued using it because, as he said, it was his show. But he also referred to this moment as a heckle. If you ask someone for their opinion and they don't like their answer, it's not a heckle. What ensued was a lengthy and awkward exchange that highlighted how unprepared for criticism Howie is. There's a glimmer of greatness where wit shone through, but they were unfortunately few and far between. So I'm not the only one who hasn't warmed to him as you have. But I say that's a
professional review, is it?
Yeah,
as opposed to someone below the line. It didn't sound like a rant.
No, that was somebody who went to review one of his shows. And I also saw somebody had written, my buddies and I ordered this from this place all the time, mostly on a Monday Night Football. They have the best pizza around here, but that was for Hungry Howie's Pizza, which is the only other review I could find. It wasn't anything to do with Josh Howie, but I thought I'd throw it in because Hungry Howie's Pizza...
it's relevant. It's highly relevant.
Yeah, I know you're in the United States, Hungry Howie's Pizza, but if you're listening, hey, send us one.
Well, how about it? Yeah. We'll take sponsorship from anyone.
You do know who he is, by the way, don't you? Or rather, you do know who his mother is.
I do now, yes. Lynn Franks of PR fame.
Yeah, do you know who she is, though? And I was racking my brains and thinking, why do I know the name Lynn Franks? Why do I know
Is she the inspiration for certain Jennifer Saunders and,
another program which I find hugely unfunny. But yeah, and everybody around me going, Fab, it's so funny. I can't take your word for that. Absolutely fabulous. Yeah, it was based on her. He and his mom appear to have dined out on that story for quite some considerable period of time.
Well, I've never heard him dine out on it, but then I hadn't come across much of his work. But I'm sure it hasn't done any harm for him professionally.
I guess not.
To have all those contacts. But again, you've got to use whatever little advantages you have, or huge advantages, and sometimes it can count against you if you're the son or daughter of a famous person, because people are just suspicious that you've just grabbed onto their coattails. But I think he's genuinely funny. But I think it's your proving he is probably I would say an acquired taste. You might say a minority taste, or words to that effect. But I mean, he's definitely got a market, but yeah, you might say he will always play better in London because that's his milieu, if you will. That was vaguely the sound he made when he threw up after eating some of the cake as well. Yeah. Apologies if you're enjoying your dinner at the moment or trying to.
I love it. But yeah, like I say, I think it's one of those where I kind of think, well, like I say, you can't like everything. I know that I'm not going to like everything that you're going to like, and vice versa. And I think, I really thought I got the measure of your humour. I'm clearly not getting it at all. If I had to bet on it, I really would have thought you'd have been on side with this, or at least much warmer to it. But I'm glad, you've got to tell the truth. And if anyone can tell the truth, it's you. You don't varnish it. But that's half the fun. But like I say, me not liking it doesn't make him a bad person. It doesn't make him an unfunny man. It doesn't make him, not worth anybody else's time. It's just, I think that's where we get confused very often, isn't it? People will say, it's a character assassination. And that's what I love about this podcast, is that it isn't. We just say, no, I didn't like that. I don't wish him any ill. I don't wish him any bumps in the road in his career. I hope he goes from strength to strength. You know, I'm quite comfortable with the fact there are a number of things that I'm not going to like, and you know, and the same for you. So, you know, I think it's nice that we can be honest and not think that, you know, we're doing it for any malicious or nasty reason. I think that's the important thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're just too decent. Although I have a feeling that your star rating won't be that decent. But, you know, you've got to tell it like it is. Are we ready for that moment where we score out of 5 each and then you do the maths wrongly?
As tradition would have it, your turn to go first.
Yeah, well, I have given it some forethought, or have I given it some 3.5 thought?
Oh.
I'm not quite sure. I'm hovering between 3.5 and 4. I'm going to give it 4. I'm going to err on the side of caution, and that's not, as you've accused me in the past, of overcompensating for the fact I know you're going to mark it down. It is that I think it's a nice, good, fun list, and there are certainly lol moments. And it tickles my tickling stick.
Good. I'm pleased about that. I will as an extra additional homework, and just so I can give the benefit of the doubt for the next episode of the podcast, I will try and grab another episode and have a listen.
That's very good of you.
And see if it does anything to me that I should report to a health professional. In the meantime,
get on the waiting list. Yes, your star rating.
And I won't dwell on it. I'll give it a 2.
I could see that coming a mile off. Okay,
you know, because of the amount of effort that went into it, and
that's a kind of sympathy too, as opposed to you want to give it 1.
Yeah,
1.5.
I just don't want to be
the
that
amount
mean.
of work. Well, it's good to know that even you have some depths to which you will not plumb in your mean-spiritedness.
Oh God, yeah. I tell you what. I mean, you know, my bar humbugness knows nothing, no bounds. What did you give it? A 4, so it gets a 6, doesn't it? Even I can do.
Yeah. Even you can do the.
Even I can do the.
It's when there's halves involved, you can't quite hack it. Brilliant. Well, it's at least over a pass mark. If it was a referendum, it would have been passed 60-40.
If you're one of these people who likes to check out the links and go and have a look for yourself, I mean, we can't promise, and it's not come out on CD. Or download as yet, as far as I could find, but I'll put the links into the BBC thing so that you can try your luck to see if it'll. Because this is the second series, isn't it? Of course, as you said at the start.
It is. Oh, there is an oddity. I should say very quickly. If you approach it from some angles using a proprietary search engine, you'll get to Series 1 on the BBC website and it will say no more episodes available, which is quite bizarre. It's almost as though I had to double check the programme title was spelt correctly, because it's not joining the dots within the BBC under the bonnet.
Right.
So look for Series 2, which is, as we speak, very definitely available, but of course it won't necessarily be available there indefinitely.
No, but I've also put the link up to Josh Howie's website, which has got tour dates and other bits and pieces that you might want to, if you want to check out the man himself, then you can have a look at that and check that out.
Right. So we must check you out and the homework the organiser set me for next week, which I genuinely have no idea what that's going to be.
Well, in my effort to do that extra bit of research, I was on Twitter and I was mucking about on Josh Howie's Twitter feed, having a look. And somebody, an American lady, I think it was a friend of his, said, I love Josh Howie. He is the British Larry David. And I thought, no, he's not. But I did think, actually, that gives me a brilliant idea, because now talking about Jewish humour and talking about Woody Allen, I mean, I think this guy is a Woody Allen for modern times, and does the Jewish humour, I would say, better than Woody Allen does it. This guy, I think he is pretty well a comedy genius. I mean, I know that term is bandied about, but what do you make of his series? It went for 10 seasons in the United States, I think I'm right in saying, and it could even have an 11th at this stage. I don't know whether they've ruled out not commissioning any more, but it was a series called Curb Your Enthusiasm. You ever come across it?
Oh, yes, I have done, yes. I went through a phase of, unusually for me, being very loyal to that and watching it week to week, and then I don't want to give too much away now, but I kind of fell off the wagon, as it were. But I'll be glad to get back on.
Oh, okay.
Just for a comedy slab.
Well, I don't know how far you went, but I'm going to pick something from season 4. and it's episode 5. It's an episode entitled "The Five Wood," because Larry's a keen golfer. And I thought season 4, it's got through the not really kind of knowing what it is and feeling its way in the first series, and it's bedded itself in nicely. Season 4, episode 5, "The Five Wood," is your homework for next week's Comedy Slab. Curb your enthusiasm.
I will try to. No, I will try to be very enthusiastic about it. And I'm being ridiculously ignorant here. It's just gone for a moment. The series he wrote, it's not the Larry
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld,
yeah.
So he was a writer on that part of the team, and
yeah.
Okay, that'll be fun, I believe. Thank you for that.
All right.
Right, so to wrap up with social media, we are at Comedy Slab on Twitter and Facebook. We are on so many platforms, it is embarrassing, frankly, when it comes to trying to find the show. You've obviously found it wherever you are here, wherever here is.
We've got more platforms than the Bay City Rollers, haven't we?
Bum, bum. Yes, very good. And... moving on.
Very good, as in not.
Don't call us. Sorry, I've got my 3 a.m. Curbed enthusiasm on. Sorry, early start today, and it's right at the other end of the day as we speak. But can't you do something at the edit to make me sound more enthusiastic?
I'll put some canned laughter in there.
Yeah, that would do it. Yeah. Smother it so they can't actually hear I sound half asleep. I've forgotten what I was going to say. Last couple of weeks we've forgotten to mention Apple Podcasts / iTunes, but I mean it's almost too obvious to mention. But we're also on Spreaker, Stitcher, YouTube if you want sort of still pictures to accompany your audio. Whatever suits you, we'd love you to subscribe and react, and I'd love Shane to finish whatever syllable he started there.
How dare you? The background moves slightly on YouTube. It isn't still pictures.
Does it?
A lot of work goes into that, you know.
Is it like Police Squad? Is that the one where they try and hold it at the end as the credits roll?
The coffee's pouring out the jug.
And on that image, we will take our leave of you. I have been Adrian. He has been Shane. You've been marvellous. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah, don't eat the cake, though. That's my advice.
And don't get pregnant. No, get pregnant if you must. But don't confuse the two. No, what am I saying? Some of my best friends are white. Black. Well, they're all colours.